welcome to another brand new episode from the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey! Oh, wait, before we start here, I made a mistake. There we go. I was wondering what was going on here, why the order was all thrown around. There we go.
I was feeling a little, lower than usual, so that's good.
I don't like anyone on my sides. I am a solo. I am a solo act.
Solo. Well, for those of you watching, happy Moon Knight Day. That's right. It's happening right now. If you haven't, the first episode is out on Apple TV. We will definitely be, on Disney Plus. We will definitely be reviewing it in the next day or so for you all to enjoy. And we might have a special guest as well joining us to do that. But we are the Geek Buddies. We're going to talk about all the stuff going on in the world of geekdom here. The way the show works is each of us picks a news topic. We take a break and jump into our main topic. But let's introduce ourselves first. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Outlaw Nation and the Geek Buddies. Mike.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
Yes, Shan.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Silicon Valley, and The Goldbergs.
Boom. Good stuff. Yeah. And we're powered and sponsored by Carbon Health, the fantastic people over there at Carbon Health, as you see where Michael is pointing. They have 100 locations in 14 states. That's right. 14 states, 100 locations, 50 plus locations in California, across the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Sacramento, and North San Diego. They got COVID testing, travel testing, everything you need. Over 2 million COVID tests have been conducted, so you know you can rely on them. They establish a partnership with a primary care clinician that gets a professional in your corner for your health needs, questions, and healthy future. And we continue to partner with them because Carbon Health genuinely cares about positive communities who engage with each other over the love of culture and expressions of life like we do. And you can download the app to keep a doc in your pocket for those immediate urgent care needs. And who doesn't? I mean, we lost Shannon McClung last week. It was touch and go. So I'm sure he hooked up some Carbon Health to get himself back on track, I'm sure.
I 100% did. Yes, last week. Thank you, gentlemen, for filling in for me. Even though there was some discussion of my permanent removal,
not from my side.
I mean, I didn't hear you leaping to my defense. So
wow.
it's good to know you are the Academy members to my Chris Rock.
Oh, we're going that early. Well, just like them, I was in a state of shock. From what Michael brought up, so just to be fair. But anyway,
I just think that your puns are a real slap in the face. That's what I think.
So if we haven't teased that already, that's pretty much going to be our main topic. Absolutely, that will be our main topic. We're going to talk about Oscars, the Oscars fallout, all the positive, all the negative, everything that's fit to talk about there in our main event. But we got 3 geek news items coming up for you. Michael, start us off.
Yeah, well, we are all very, very excited about Obi-Wan Kenobi coming to Disney Plus very soon. And even though Star Wars is very tight-lipped on spoilers and does a better job of keeping everything under wraps than pretty much everyone else, little drips and drabs are popping up here and there. And one of the latest drips and drabs is Deborah Chow teasing what fans can expect from Darth Vader and his appearance. And while she can't really talk spoilers, she did tell EW in their extensive kind of coverage of the series that viewers should keep in mind that this iteration isn't the fully formed Sith Lord that was in the original Star Wars. Her full quote was, "For us, it's very similar to Obi-Wan in the sense that he's in between these 2 trilogies. So he isn't the New Hope Vader quite yet. You know what I mean? So we are with this character sort of in the middle of this period. It is still Vader, obviously, but it's a Vader that isn't quite as fully formed as A New Hope." So, of course, that has everybody buzzing about what exactly that means. And I have some thoughts, but gentlemen, what do you think this means? A not quite fully formed Vader. What are you guys expecting to see from this?
Shane?
I mean, it's interesting because when it was first announced that Hayden Christensen was going to be coming back to play Darth Vader, I said from the beginning, like, I don't know why that is a big deal if you're essentially just putting him in a suit. Like, of course, you could have flashbacks. You could have those moments where he doesn't have the helmet on. But for the most part, if you're going to put Vader in a series, in a film, a la Rogue One, like you want to see Vader. So hearing this explained by Deborah Chow, how this is not the Vader that we will come to meet in Episode 4, not the Vader we come to meet in Rogue One, that this is someone who's on a bit of a journey still. Like, that does make Hayden Christensen's casting, it makes a lot more sense that way, because this is a guy who does have 2 films of playing Anakin under his belt. He was Anakin who then transitioned into Darth Vader. So I think that makes, from an acting standpoint, I think that makes really, really makes a lot of sense. It could be a very, very interesting character. Looking at the timeline, though, I mean, if this movie or if this series does take place 10 years after Episode 3 and 20 years before Episode 4, how it's not fully formed Vader, I'm like, 10 years is a long time. So it's a very interesting choice to put out there, that this is not the guy that we have come to know. Like, how does this Vader feel about this sort of, conquering of the galaxy that Palpatine has done? I think it's really, really interesting. And as one who has not always been the biggest fan of Hayden Christensen's work in the Star Wars films, here's hoping that this is a chance, the same way Ewan McGregor is getting a chance to really play the character the way you want to play the character. I think a lot of folks have no issue with Ewan McGregor's performance, but George Lucas is known to not be the most actor-friendly director. So you have a series where you really kind of let Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen really kind of let loose in these characters. I think it sounds very exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shannon. I think you make a lot of excellent points. If you're an actor, this is what excites you about coming back to a project. I get a little more wiggle room to be creating this character at this time. I mean, your 20s are not your 30s, your 30s are not your 40s. There's different things. So yeah, you make a point. 10 years, certainly he's changed. He's more comfortable in being this Vader. But where is he fraying at the edges? Where is he kind of having issues constructing this, putting this character together, figuring out how he fits in this? And when Kenobi shows back up, how does that rattle him? How does that situation kind of mess with him? So all of that is rich material for an actor to explore. So this makes all kinds of sense. And it excites me even more for this series to hear the back and forth, to see the back and forth, to see what they're going to reference, what they're going to talk about, how are they going to, if they're going to, they promised the duel. Is it going to be a letdown, or is it going to be an awesome duel with a lot of conversation in between the strikes like they did in their last duel? That would be exciting to see for sure. So all of this makes so much sense. And I wonder how he's going to look, and if the technology is going to be exactly the same or kind of be in transition itself to what we saw in A New Hope. So I'm looking forward to this. This makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah, and Star Wars is at their best when they fill in the gaps of the things that don't really always make a ton of sense. And although, like, we all love Star Wars, between what is established in the prequels, what is said in the original trilogy, like, there's always a couple things that you're like, this doesn't quite always add up. Dave Filoni and his team have done a masterclass in using Clone Wars animated to sort of fill in some of those gaps on one end. Like, the whole Hayden Christensen is having visions about Padme, and that's why he goes and all of a sudden kills a bunch of Jedi, because the Emperor kind of gets him to do it. Like, it was always, even if you love the prequels, which I know a lot of you do, it was always a little bit of a leap. And I think what they did in Clone Wars animated so well was really build an Anakin who already had a lot of those tendencies, was already ready to go to that Force choke. Like, they really built a character that you could really justify making some of those leaps in Revenge of the Sith. And now they have the opportunity to do it at the opposite end, because if you kind of read the Vader comics that have been out in the past few years, if you look at this stuff, you see that there's a lot more nuance than the guy that we necessarily see at the beginning of A New Hope. Like, this is a guy who doesn't know that Luke Skywalker is his son until after New Hope, pre-Empire Strikes Back, when Boba Fett shows up and tells him. This is a guy that still has a lot of feelings about Padme, even as he is terrorizing the galaxy as a Sith Lord. So they've definitely, like, built a Vader that is a little bit more nuanced than the Vader that a lot of us grew up with. And I think that here is a chance to do it on the biggest scale that they've had so far. Not an animated series, not in a comic book, but in something that everybody in the world is going to be watching with the actor that actually portrayed him in the prequels. So I think that even 10 years in, this is a guy who still thinks the love of his life died, has no idea that he has children, and has this thing with Obi-Wan. You know, when we get to A New Hope, Darth Vader kind of says, oh, it's a presence I haven't felt since, and then turns and walks away. And I think we've always assumed that that was since Mustafar, but if they're going to build this moment and have this duel, and this is the moment that he hasn't felt this presence since, they could really build something that really fills in a lot of gaps in a really, really cool way and builds a Vader that that lets us see shades of the Vader that we see in Return of the Jedi, the one who is a little bit more regretful, the one that has some more of those feelings. So I think it could be really, really good if they do it right.
Could be fascinating to see what holes they fill in from the original trilogy. I mean, you make some excellent points here, Michael. Will they kind of retroactively kind of touch on certain moments that'll get us thinking about that, like you mentioned in Return of the Jedi? Also, I think it'll be fascinating to see how much of the comic book stuff bleeds into this as well. You know, he's a completely different person at times with Dr. Aphra than he is with other people. So will some of that play in? Will he have an assistant or I don't know, a person who's there as kind of second in command, that he has a little more of a, not friendlier, but just a little more of a human, for lack of a better term, interaction with it, that makes him a little more vulnerable? Because look, they know Vader is
like a Sith-retary. A Sith-retary.
Sith-retary, sure. A Sith-retary. Wow. You know, but everybody, they love Vader. They love it. Even when he came in at the end of Rogue One and sliced innocent people, sliced them up to pieces, people were loving it. So they love Vader. So you got to make him a little more vulnerable, connectable, human, as I said, for lack of a better term. And I think this is a perfect way to do it. So hopefully they take advantage of it. For sure. Yeah. All right. Shannon, what do you got for us for our second story here?
All right. So we found out from Deadline just a couple of days ago that the Blue Beetle film, which was originally going to be on HBO Max, but now is getting a theatrical release next August in 2023, they have found their villain potentially in the form of Sharon Stone. So she, according to the playlist.com, she is going to be playing Victoria Cord, who is an original creation for this film. And according to Christopher Mark at the playlist.com, she is said to be the wife of Ted Cord, who is actually the second Blue Beetle, but it's the Blue Beetle that most of us, at least those of our ilk, of our age, that's who we grew up with being the Blue Beetle. So this is a really interesting casting. I mean, Sharon Stone does not have the best history playing a baddie in a DC property, going back to Halle Berry's Catwoman. But the fact that she's playing potentially the widow of Ted Cord, I'm like, that's a really interesting choice. But gentlemen, what do you all think of Sharon Stone as our big bad in the Blue Beetle?
I mean, my mind goes to like 30 different directions, right? Because I mean, if it's his wife, then were they divorcing? Did they have a happy marriage? Does she want control of the company? Because I mean, if they say villain, then she's obviously doing some nefarious shit. So is she someone did she marry him? Is she a second wife? Like, there's all kinds of things that come into your head that you've seen as cliches before, or in real life, in these situations. And I wonder why she's being a villain. Is she mad that Jaime Reyes has taken over? Is she fighting for Ted Cord's legacy? So she doesn't want that to be overshadowed. There's all kinds of directions you can go here. And yes, Catwoman is a bad movie all around. I don't know how much you blame Sharon Stone for that. But so I'm definitely open to give her another chance, because I think she's been fantastic over the last few years in a number of projects. She's about to come, I think, in second season of Flight Attendant. So good to bring her in, and she's got a strength and a power here. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. And maybe this is, we talk about Hayden Christensen getting redeemed a little bit here with Kenobi. Maybe Sharon Stone will redeem the Catwoman performance in this film. But a lot of people are already like, oh boy, it's a bad sign, but I hope it isn't. And I'm looking forward to it, because they announced a bunch of new Latino actors coming into this film as well, which is very exciting. So Sharon Stone I think, it's fun. She can play, because she was also a villain in Casino, in essence, an antagonist in Casino, and she did a great job with that. So, Mikey?
Yeah, the Ted Kord's wife of it all is the most interesting part of this story.
Mm.
Like Sharon Stone, not great in Catwoman, but really, who was? So I don't hold that against her particularly, but I think the fact that Ted Kord's wife is in the movie means that there was a Ted Kord.
Yes,
And if she's the villain in a Blue Beetle movie, chances are high that Ted Kord might have been a Blue Beetle. And if you aren't aware of the, odd and varied history of the Blue Beetles in the comics, like Ted Kord was an industrialist who kind of took on the persona of the Blue Beetle and flew around in like his beetle plane and had his beetle suit. But Jaime Reyes gets a scarab from outer space from an alien race called the Reach in a completely different way. So what Ted Kord's wife would have to do with Jaime Reyes being a new Blue Beetle when her husband may or may not have been a Blue Beetle, like it's really interesting to me because there's a lot, like Johnny said, there's a lot of possibilities to what that means. There's a lot of possibilities that could be really interesting and cool. There's a lot of possibilities that could be really cheesy and bad. So there are several ways that this could go. The other part that's always interesting, and not in a bad way necessarily, but when you have a villain in your movie and an antagonist in the form of someone like a Sharon Stone, chances are, unless they're going to do something really, really weird with Ted Kord's wife, her and Jaime Reyes aren't going to be duking it out, which means that she will be an antagonist, but not the only antagonist. Because when you have a character like Jaime Reyes who can do some pretty badass stuff with the Scarab, you're going to have some characters that he can really show off what he can do. And I don't think wailing on Sharon Stone is definitely the way they're planning on going. So, I think it'll be interesting to see the role that she plays, but also who else is going to be stepping up to be part of this, the antagonist side of this movie.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because along with Sharon Stone's casting announcement, there was the casting announcement of Raul Max Trujillo as Carapax, the Indestructible Man, who is also a villain. So the fact that these two might be teaming up to take on Jaime Reyes, I think sounds super, super cool. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but in one version, I don't know if this is in current continuity, but didn't Ted Kord had the Scarab, was never able to make it work, and he was able to base some of his tech off of it?
I think so. There's been a lot of versions of the DC universe in the past several years, and I do think they tried to really sort of unify the Blue Beetle of it all, to sort of make the history of Blue Beetle and what they've done with Jaime kind of all make sense. And her being in this movie seems like that's also what they will be trying to do, that perhaps some of Kord Industries' tech is tied to the Scarab, and that's why she's an antagonist. So I think there's a lot of possibilities. Also, with the Invulnerable Man being the villain, wasn't Sharon Stone's power in Catwoman that she was invulnerable?
I think it was a side effect of the experimental makeup she was working on, if memory serves.
I saw someone.
I tell you what.
Yeah.
If they have an invulnerable man and then she's like, by the way, remember me, and then she's the invulnerable woman again, like I wouldn't put it past DC, guys.
I'll walk out of the theater if that happens. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Maybe. I hope to God it wasn't a casting decision. We're like, who else was invulnerable? Catwoman. And Catwoman. Let's get Sharon Stone. I hope it wasn't like that. So.
Also, it is indestructible, not invulnerable. That is neither here nor there.
You can't get through.
But either way, Blue Beetle will be hitting the big screen next summer in August of 2023.
Oh, can't wait. I'm so looking forward to that one. And I hope it all works out. Jesus Christ, I hope it all works out. All right. Our last little item here in the first block of the show here is a new trailer that dropped for a film that's been sitting in the can for 2.5 damn years. Is so excited that we got a new trailer for Top Gun Maverick, getting to see Tom Cruise back in the flight jacket, back in the sunglasses, got himself a new lady here with Jennifer Connelly. But also in this trailer, we got a glimpse of this man, Iceman. That's right. Kaczynski's an admiral. Are you kidding me right now? Iceman became an admiral, which is really awesome. And he is the reason why Pete Maverick Mitchell is back to train these pilots. By the way, Pete Maverick Mitchell has not gone higher up in rank in 4 decades of service. So clearly a stubborn dude. John Hamm, an antagonist who's not happy with him being there. I mean, that's all John Hamm plays now is comedy or antagonist. There's really nothing else that John Hamm play recently. So good casting with him to slide in there. We didn't get any Ed Harris in the new trailer, but we got more with Miles Teller here playing Rooster. Got Goose's son. He had a lot more. We got to see the interaction here. There's a little bit of drama between him and Pete Mitchell saying, hey, my dad trusted you in the past. I'm not going to make that same mistake again, even though he's training these guys. A little more Glenn Powell, Monica Barbaro. Got to see Danny Ramirez, for those of you who've been watching a number of projects he's been in lately. And so great to see all of this here for me. I love the trailer. I was excited about the trailer. I love the story they're telling. There's a little emotional story here. What do we know? Did Meg Ryan live? Did she not live? Did she pass away from the depression of the loss of Goose? Is that why Rooster's bitter against her? Is she alive? Or bitter against Maverick? Is she alive? I got all kinds of questions coming out of this trailer. Gentlemen, what did you think about this latest and probably final trailer? Because we're less than a month away from this thing coming out for Top Gun Maverick.
Man, this was the coolest thing to wake up to. As a child of the 80s, I had Top Gun on beta before I had it on VHS.
Oh, yes.
And I wore that tape down to the nub. I mean, I loved Top Gun as a kid. Yeah. And, you get all of these, that bong, like right as the trailer starts. I love that they're embracing, and they wouldn't have any other choice, but I love that they're embracing the age of Tom Cruise in this. That's been I do enjoy Tom Cruise, but this is something Kalinowski and I always talk about. He thinks that I don't like Tom Cruise, but it's because he keeps trying to play these younger roles, and it's like, embrace the age, play the older guy. And watching, as you said, John, how Maverick has not been promoted in rank in quite a long time. I'm like, that's really interesting. I love that we officially have found out Val Kilmer's role in the movie, that Kazansky is now an admiral. That's so cool. The one part of the trailer that does give me a little bit of pause is the younger cast. Okay. The little bit that we saw, I'm speaking specifically of Glenn Powell and Monica Barbaro. Both of their deliveries, and granted, we're looking at a snippet. Both of their deliveries to me, I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's to me,
that.
and again, I'm looking at the corner of a painting right now and making a judgment call. I could be 100% wrong, but both of the little moments that we had, both of them just ring a little hollow to me. Now, Miles Teller, completely the opposite. Miles Teller is a dynamic young actor, even though apparently as a person he's not that great. But those moments that you talk about with Tom Cruise, he looks fantastic. And I thought the brief glimpse we had at Danny Ramirez, I liked him, but there's just something about Powell and Barbaro that I'm like, I don't know. And I think really the movie, it obviously rests on Tom Cruise's shoulders, but you want that strong supporting cast there, and you had such a great supporting cast in the first Top Gun. And I think we're going to have that with Jennifer Connelly, with John Hamm, with Ed Harris, but his connection to these younger pilots, I do think is kind of going to be the spine of the story, and you just hope that they are able to carry their weight.
Yeah, interesting. I like Glenn Powell essentially playing Iceman, so I liked what he was doing here. Michael, what do you think? Did you have the same feelings as Shannon did about some of the acting here? Or did you enjoy the trailer overall?
I mean, I thought the acting was fine. I like Top Gun. I do not love Top Gun the way you two do. Like, I enjoy it. Like, I got nothing against Top Gun. I got nothing bad to say about the movie. And when that music hits, it gets me every time. Like, I love that score. It's probably my favorite part about the movie. But I agree with Shannon. I'm happy that Tom Cruise is playing his age, but this trailer makes me laugh because I just looked at it. I was like, man, Tom Cruise is gonna cruise. Yeah. Like, you can't stop that man. He is gonna Tom Cruise his way to the grave. Like, the whole way, just like, like the whole way doing his thing. And it's like, the fact that that has sort of been incorporated into the story, that this is a guy who hasn't really grown or changed, kind of like, I'm like, yeah, that kind of works for me. I'm excited for the movie. Like, I think this trailer did a great job. I think I am on board. I think that it is just an interesting era that we live in where we are not, we don't reboot anymore. We just continue the story. Like with Obi-Wan, with Maverick, with everybody. Like, we live in the era of, we don't want you to retell our stories. We want to see where these people are 20, 30, 40 years later. And that's what we're going to get. And this is just another in a long line of those movies, but like, it gets you. Like, I watched the trailer and I looked at my brother and I was like, I'm not the biggest Top Gun guy, but I'm in for this movie. Like, I'm going to see it. Like, I'm in.
You want to go inverted with Maverick? It's twice in the trailer you saw him going inverted. So I was very happy to see that as well. And you're right. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, this guy's in his 60s, looking like he's in his 40s with Jennifer Connelly. Ridiculous. I agree with you. But Tom will be doing that when they do the third installment. When he's 76, he's going to look just like that on the bike too. I mean, the guy is ageless in his internal approach. I know we're seeing the wrinkles certainly at the end of Mission Impossible Fallout. You saw the wrinkles, but I like what you guys are saying, that he's embracing his age in the character and he's not moving up. You know, most people get pretty much ridiculed for not moving up in rank in the military. So it's going to be interesting to hear the stories about why he's never moved up. You know, when Kirk became an admiral, he hated that he couldn't fly the Enterprise, so he eventually had to go back and fly the Enterprise. I think the same thing is, Maverick learned that lesson and never got promoted, possibly.
Well, I think that's also a possibility for the story, is he was promoted and he got knocked down a rank because of his behavior. Also in the trailer, he tells John Hamm, I'm not a teacher. But at the end of the first movie, he was speculating on becoming an instructor for Top Gun. So maybe he actually did. And they were like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know, you're right. I remember.
So there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun story possibilities with that. But yeah, thinking about like Tom Cruise and like that was something that I did like about the last Mission Impossible movie, is that he was sort of like, especially that bathroom fight with him and Henry Cavill teaming up, like him just getting worked by that dude. It's like, okay, embrace the age. That's great. Like this is a shade that the audience wants to see, is Tom Cruise playing an older man. I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw some writers and critics coming out going, why do we need a sequel for this? Because there are those of us who loved it. So how about we allow you to love your Predator 7 movies or your other Madness franchise. Let us enjoy.
Nobody loves the 7th Predator movie.
Some people defend it. Yeah, you know this, Spear. They defend that shit. And I'm just saying, like, let us have it. You want 30 Lord of the Rings movies? Let me have a sequel to Top Gun, for God's sakes. Anyway, I just want to address that.
There are two total good Predator movies, but it takes 3 movies to get there. The first Predator movie is good, half of Predator 2 is good, and half of Predators is good, and that's it. That's all you get.
Yeah, the 1980s when we made Jamaicans the bad guys and everything. Yeah. Oh,
that part's not one of the good parts. That's not one of the good parts of that movie.
I do want to bring something up. I know we're moving on from this and just have a little bit more of a somber tone today. We did get that news about Bruce Willis, sad news about Bruce Willis here, who is retiring from acting. Want to get you guys' thoughts real quick before we jump into our final segment here after the break. He's been diagnosed with aphasia. Demi Moore released a statement here saying that Bruce's amazing supporters. As a family, we wanted to share that our beloved Bruce has been experiencing some health issues and has recently been diagnosed with aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. As a result of this, with so much consideration, Bruce is stepping away from his career, from the career that has meant so much to him. And aphasia is a language disorder caused by brain damage that affects a person's ability to communicate. Gentlemen, we've all enjoyed Bruce Willis's films over the years, maybe not so much lately, but certainly over the years. And this is as much as we may joke about actors in their films or whatever, this is something you never want to see happen to an icon from an era who entertained us for so long. Reactions to this, as you say, because I mean, attacking an actor where they live and breathe, which is their ability to communicate, is as brutal as Roger Ebert getting throat cancer, who was so good on television giving us our movie reviews. So what are you guys' reactions to this news?
I mean, incredibly sad news. Yeah. As you said, John, you know, he was an actor that those of us of a certain age grew up with. I mean, watching him in Die Hard, like remembering him in Moonlighting, and then watching this sort of, you know, stratospheric rise that he had. And you know, it obviously has leveled out in a few years. And that happens with every actor.
Sure.
And especially, like, I had read an article not too long ago about talking about some of his recent career choices, how he's done a lot of lower budgeted films, and allegedly was having to be fed his lines because he was having trouble remembering his lines. And someone had speculated, because they had heard he did have some sort of condition, some sort of, you know, debilitating cognitive condition, that he was doing as many of these movies as he could right now. So he was going to be able to leave something behind for his family. He wanted to make sure that his kids were taken care of. And so knowing why he did that, because obviously, like, that's low hanging fruit for cinephiles, is to kind of joke about the, you know, the new kind of crappy straight to DVD movie that Bruce Willis
not too low for the Razzies, though, Shannon. Not too low for the Razzies to create a whole category. How about how they feel this morning? Anyway,
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like, obviously we like to make jokes, we like to have fun, but I mean, this is one of those moments where it's like, oh God, now I kind of feel rightfully kind of like a dick, because there was a reason he was doing this. So I mean, obviously incredibly sad, and just, you know, we'll always have his classic films to go back and remember the performer that he used to be.
Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel horrible for him, horrible for his family, and just like, man, cognitive diseases are the ones that freak me out the most.
Oh yeah, but
like, we're all gonna get older, and I know I won't always be able to go to the gym every morning. I know I'm not always gonna be able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, but I like, you know, the idea of like losing your ability to communicate, losing your ability to comprehend the people around you, losing your ability to kind of like understand where you are, anything along those lines, like that's the stuff that that scares me the most of anything. And so then, you know, and the thing about the actors we love is like, you feel like you know them. Sometimes in creepy ways, but sometimes in really endearing ways. And like Shannon and Johnny said, like, these are people that we've all grown up with. Like, we don't know them personally, but, you know, these are the people that we went to see when we were stressed. We went to see when we were excited, movies that mean things to us. And so to see something like that happen to someone who has meant so much to so many of us, like, it's as horrible as finding out that, you know, it's someone that you know personally. Like, it's really tragic. It's really sad, and it's really scary. Like, I hope that he's using the time that he has left to do what he really wants to do. And, you know, and that has nothing to do with any of us. That has to do with his family and the people that he loves in his life. And I hope that he's spending his time doing as much of that as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and you're right about that, Mike. There's nothing I fear more. There's nothing I worry about more. And sometimes I think, because I'm doing so many things, so many of these kinds of shows, that I'm increasing the possibility, and it's speeding along the possibility of that stuff happening. Nothing scares me more than cognitive stuff. And when you're seeing once strong, proud actors now later on in life, you know, being affected by these kinds of things, it's just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And no matter what your feelings are about Bruce Willis, I'm sure this is not something people would wish on him. And so, like I said, hopefully we remember him. And they posted a picture of him. It was a happier picture, you know, a stronger picture. And hopefully that's how we remember him as we go along with this, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of updates as it goes along. And I'm not sure what the life expectancy of something like this. I've never heard of this disease until today. So just kind of heartbreaking to know there's even more of these things that you can get. And you know, we wish him well. We send our thoughts and comforts to his family. And thank you, Bruce, for all the entertainment you gave us, for sure. And hopefully it'll go as peacefully as possible as the years go on. All right, we'll take a quick break here, and we'll jump into our main topic here, which is discussing the Oscars, of both good and bad, and the fallout from everything that happened that night and the reactions to it all here.
What happened? Did something happen at the Oscars? I'm not.
Your mouth.
Oh God.
Oh boy. boy. All right, let's take a quick break. Shannon, what do you got for us?
Well, I had one thing, but it seems a little inappropriate on the heels of Bruce Willis. So I'll just say, ba 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 ba.
What would have been the inappropriate?
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. That's what you needed to do.
What I was going to do was the opening lyrics to "Hit Me with Your Best Shot."
Oh my God. You two are out of control. All right, I'm just going to give a quick precursor, and then we're going to get into it. So the Oscars the other night, you know, very interesting night. I did a Twitch watch along with it. I had like 150 people joining me live to watch with me as I watched the Oscars. That was a lot of fun for sure. But in the middle, or right at the end of eating my leftover Italian food from the night before, out of nowhere, there was a smack heard around the world here during the Oscars, and that got tongues wagging. I mean, people were already complaining about a little bit about the hosts, even though I think they did as good of a job as they could. They were complaining about some of the way the categories were being, those 8 categories were being read out, and the winners being read out and then rushed up there to deliver their speeches or edit in their speeches. There were complaints about in memoriam. There were complaints about a number of things throughout the show, but I don't want any of that and for myself personally to overshadow what a diverse show it was, honoring women, honoring the LGBTQ plus community, honoring the deaf community. There were so many positive, the Black community. There were so many positive things, Latino community rather, all over the place to enjoy from the Oscars. But overall, the slap is what everybody seems to want to talk about or debate. And so, gentlemen, I ask you guys, what is your, and by the way, the Oscars, I think almost doubled their audience from the year before in terms of the ratings. So whatever your issue is with Will Packer, either he produced a hell of a show or people were more in the mood this year to see the Oscars than they were last year because of either the movies or having kind of come back to normal after the pandemic. Any number of factors could have factored into this thing, but great ratings for them for sure. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the Oscars now as we kind of deal with the fallout afterwards?
Well, I know we will at some point soon get into sort of the more negative, negative aspects. I kind of want to focus on the positive. I thought Troy Kotzer's acceptance speech for Best Supporting Actor was tremendous.
Yeah.
I thought Drive My Car winning for Best Foreign Language Film, and that poor director who got played off 3 times.
Oh my God!
But he still kept going. Like, good for him. The Lady Gaga, Liza Minnelli moment, which I think had that slap not occurred, that is what everyone would be talking about, because that was just such a touching moment.
Yeah.
Seeing Lady Gaga basically take her by the hand and be like, "I've got you," and I know, like that moment, even in the wake of sort of the bad stuff, in the wake of the bad stuff, that was just sort of like a light at the end of the tunnel. I thought it was just so incredibly touching to watch that transpire, and also in many of the past few years, my personal favorite film of the year that I'd like to see win Best Picture, it's never won. Like the year that Whiplash came out, I'm like, that is the best movie of the year. I don't care what anyone else says. When the Big Sick came out, I'm like, that is the best movie of the year. When I watched Coda at home with my girlfriend, now wife, who she does have 2 nephews, one who is deaf and one who is hearing impaired. She was the one who really educated me on some of the aspects of Coda prior to us watching it. As that movie finished, I was like, that is the best movie of the year. I don't know if it's going to win, but that is the best movie of the year. And so seeing it win, especially because so many people, including 2 fellas on this screen, were predicting that the Power of the Dog was going to win. Watching that cast get to go up on stage and accept that award, I thought that was awesome and just, truly heartwarming.
Yeah, the cast here for Coda there celebrating the victory overall for them, and nice to see Sean Hayter also winning for Best Adapted Screenplay for this as well. Mike, what are your thoughts overall as you think about the Oscars? If you want to start positive or start negative, what is your?
I mean, I'll start positive. I think that the Oscars last year were just not anything anybody wanted. I mean, you know, and not part of it was the fault of COVID, but then part of it was the fault of them just deciding to not show any clips or have any, you know, there's a lot of things you can do even during a pandemic that they just didn't do. And so I do think this year was a little bit of getting back to form. You know, you're back at the Dolby and everybody it looked like you were at the Oscars, and it felt nice. Like it was good. As far as losing our little competition, as I said to Shannon at the airport in Orlando on Monday morning, never been so happy to lose. Like more than happy that Coda beat Power of the Dog. And so whatever crap ass movie you guys are going to make me watch for losing this thing, more than happy to watch it. And, you know, it was the little moments that really got me. It was, you know, when Troy Katsura won and when Coda won, the fact that everybody in the audience was doing this, you know, that really got me. Like, it really, like, that was really, really nice. I do think, and again, it is a shame because usually the big thing we come out of the Oscars with is, ugh, Oscars so white. Why can't Oscars be more diverse? And although there's always way more to go, we did have some more of that this year. You know, you did feel, and also like it was one of those really nice years where, you know, there's some years where just a movie just sweeps every single category and you're like, well, that's what it is. But this really did feel like, I think Coda got what it deserved, but I think Dune got really recognized. I'm glad that Ariana DeBose won for West Side Story. I thought her speech about being a queer Afro-Latina girl was like really, really powerful. So I think that there was a lot of good stuff. I was very happy to see some clip reels of some movies. Always, I just give me my clip reels. I want to see some clips of movies put to different music. It makes me happy. It made me happy this time. The less we don't talk about Bruno, the better. That part, I get
that part
what
was
they
a
were
problem.
That part was a problem. I felt like it wasn't all that it could have been. I appreciate what they were trying to do with the In Memoriam. I'll say that. I understand the desire to say we should do something to celebrate the lives of these people. This should be more of a celebration of who they were. I don't think that tonally they got it quite right. And I think that, you know, like I think people's reactions to that kind of spoke to that. But, you know, I do think it has to be said that in a year that was by no means a perfect Oscars at all, but had a lot of really great, lovely moments. I think the Lady Gaga Liza moment that Shannon was talking about was beautiful. I think it's a shame that it all got overshadowed by the slap heard around the world. So I do think that is one of the challenges with that. Which I'm sure we will start talking about now.
Well, I do want to throw in my positives. I thought the set design was fantastic. I really loved the look. As you said, Michael, it felt like we were back at the Oscars again. I thought it was brilliant. Nice combo, a little bit of the Golden Globe stuff, the kind of familiarity, that closeness to the stage, sitting at those kind of maybe semi-dinner tables. I kind of like that. The fact the steps were only 2 steps. I enjoyed that Denzel being front, being able to see everything. We did have Will and Jada up front, and I think that was Will Packer's way of saying he's going to win. He's the king tonight. I want him as close to the stage as possible. Did not anticipate what was going to happen for sure, but certainly that situation, I think, was set out in a certain way. And there was more diversity in the front than I've ever seen before at any Oscars. Even last year when they really tried to be diverse, that was a lot of fun. You know, we didn't see any Glenn Close twerking stuff. It was authentic. It was real. It was noble. It was a classic. It was honorable. It was great. Yeah, some missteps certainly with the categories. Yeah, the In Memoriam, I get it. Gospel music is supposed to celebrate the life, uplift you, and even when you're down, it uplifts you. And when it's used in movies, it's usually to pick the spirits up or to fight against something that's gonna stop you or gonna stop the minority from achieving something. Gospel has been used as a powerful thing. You know, Color Purple, any number of places you've seen it really shine. I think the smarter move would have been to move the gospel choir to the side or maybe even under the screen. So the screen, because you could barely see half the people they were talking about. Right. Although I did enjoy that they had moments where they stopped and had people come forward and speak about their memories of the person who had passed away, like Bill Murray talking about Ivan Reitman. So I thought those were nice moments, but a little clumsy at times. And I thought some of the jokes from the hosts were a bit but like overall, though, I did like when Wanda was dressed as Richard, and The Spider-Woman or Spider-Man thing with Amy Schumer, the Amy Schumer Kirsten Dunst thing really rubbed me wrong till the next day. She said this was all talked about and planned out. And it was because I like Kirsten, and I think Kirsten's taken an incredible amount of shit over the last few years. She's a goddamn good actress, and people are finally starting to respect that again. And so I was worried that that was something that was going to kind of denigrate her more, but obviously it was talked about, so I kind of let that go. But overall, yeah, I mean, there are some great and Questlove's speech. Let's not forget Questlove's speech. Oh my God! Right afterwards, a beautiful, beautiful speech that got me at the moment, because I didn't really, I didn't really kind of grasp the severity of what had happened. I was still kind of stunned, and so seeing his speech was really moving. The Dos Uruguitas performance was fantastic. Beyonce's performance, although the song maybe not so cool, not as great as I was hoping from Beyonce, but the performance was incredible. And Reba, the ageless Reba McEntire, she did a great job as well. So there was a lot. And Billie Eilish, which I was very happy to see her win. And I did say on the show last week that
you did.
Don't be surprised if she upsets.
You sure did.
No surprise. A bit of a surprise, but still incredible song to win. So, but yeah, we got to talk about this. The slap heard around the world. I mean, Chris Rock came out and made a joke. For those of you who may not know, made a G.I. Jane joke at Jada Pinkett's expense, which I initially thought was funny because she had she'd shaved her head, and I knew about the alopecia thing, but that didn't even connect in my head. And it was like, it's an award show. They're gonna make fun of you. That's the game. And of course, Will initially laughed, but you could see Jada was not happy with the joke in the just real quick cutaway. And then it seemed like she maybe looked at Will or said something to Will. We don't know, because I don't think there's any video of that. And then Will stood up, walked the length of the stage. And initially you're thinking, is this a bit somehow? Is this going to be a back and forth between them or something? And he actually slapped Chris Rock, which was a real shock. And you heard it. Then he said, keep your wife's name out my effing mouth, then went and sat down and yelled it again to Chris Rock. And you could tell he was rattled. And at the time when it was happening, I just was like, oh, whoa, what is this? And I tweeted out something, and I didn't think twice about it initially, because I'm like, clearly my man stepped over the line and it got handled. But in retrospect now, obviously looking at it and the fallout and the reactions, it was a pretty embarrassing moment for a lot of people, including obviously Will Smith. And a couple of my black friends texted me that were here in the Sphere, and we were talking back and forth on text. And they were their anger comes from the fact that it embarrasses the community that he did that, the black community, and did this guy. It's like now racist. Like you saw Janine Pirro last night going nuts about it. You see Fox News got traction for 2 days off of this stuff, because they want to push this narrative about racist narrative and about liberals in Hollywood. And then Will Smith wins the Oscar, delivers a tear-soaked speech where he was kind of all over the place trying to figure out what to say, with a lot of emotions kind of crashing into themselves. He was not escorted out after the slap. He stayed there, and he was given a standing applause by some people there in the audience when he won. And we saw that both Denzel Washington and Bradley Cooper, and I think Tyler Perry as well, were consoling Will in the commercial break. That footage has come out. So, I mean, and Will Smith did apologize. Chris Rock hasn't said a word, but Will Smith did give a heartfelt apology, at least the way I took it. So, gentlemen, your reactions to this days later, this has split the community. Really, there are a lot of people who are saying Chris Rock should not have joked. No, if he knew about the Alex, should not have joked this way. And there are a lot of people who say Will Smith shouldn't have reacted this way. So there's a battle within the community here. I see online and on Twitter, and some surveys I have it split right down the middle. So it's really interesting to see people's reactions. What do you, as you take this all in now, a couple of days later, what do you all feel about it?
Well, that was not a cool joke to make. Like that was incredibly insensitive. Yes. And whether or not he knew about Jada Pinkett's condition, or if he didn't, neither one justifies the response that he got. The trouble with being one of the last remaining movie stars, such as Will Smith is, this is a guy who is a role model for a lot of young people. And to watch his reaction in that moment, and like, he's human, people are going to lose their tempers. Like, that does happen. to watch that reaction, a lot of kids saw that afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this has dominated a lot of the entertainment conversation since it happened.
Yeah.
And seeing the damage. Now, obviously, I can't speak to the Black community's experience. I mean, it's certainly interesting to read, but just from the kids' perspective, a lot of people saw that. And I have a lot of friends who are stand-up comedians, and they're like, look, he was 100% wrong, because again, being one of the biggest movie stars in the world, how many people think it's going to be okay to go up and pop a comedian? Now, I understand what you're saying, or I understand what has been said, that sometimes, you know, you have to answer for your words, but answering them with assault is, that's a choice, but then you have to also be answerable for what you did.
Right.
And I think in any other situation, in any other situation, it not being the Oscars, it not being Will Smith.
Yeah, this is at a bar. I don't think anywhere near the firestorm it is now. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, it may not be near the firestorm publicly, obviously, but also I think you know, the police get involved.
Well,
I mean, if you're attacked,
I'm sure
the response is either going to be fight back, or it's going to be to call the authorities.
Yeah.
So it was just such a shame, because the entire night now, that's what that's become about. And, you know, you had so many people work so hard to get to the Oscars, and the people closest to you, they're going to remember it. But for the most part, all people are going to remember is that slap. And I think it sucks for Will Smith's legacy, because his Best Actor win will never be a solitary subject. It will always be he hit a guy beforehand.
It's not the crowning achievement that it could have been. That's a great point, Shannon.
Yeah. Nope. And my guess is, you know, time heals all wounds. I personally don't think Will Smith's going to be kicked out of the Academy. But I do think it will be a long time, possibly, before he's invited back.
Yeah, probably. Mike, your thoughts on this afterwards?
Yeah. I mean, I think the part that bothers me, and it's more, I mean, look, I think it was all dumb. I think Chris Rock was dumb. If he knew about, if Chris Rock knew about the alopecia, he was dumb. That was shitty. Will Smith making the crazy decision to walk up on stage during a live broad, like, it's not like we're you know, there's been all this talk about like, oh, well, he was in the moment, he was defending, like, this is a man who is a movie star, which means he spends all of his day in the public eye with publicists thinking about his image, made the choice to walk up on stage on live television and do that. Like, that's not I did something in the moment and was like, oh shit. Like, that is you made that choice. But I think what really bothers me more is, like, in the past several days since that, you know, you just see it, and it's like what you said, John. Like, it's like half the world is on Team Chris Rock. Like, Will Smith was totally in the wrong, and half the world is on Team Will Smith. That, like, he was justified, he was standing up for Jada. And I'm like, neither one of them has to be right. Like, you don't have to choose a side here. You don't have. If you think that Will Smith was wrong, you don't have to think that Chris Rock is the innocent victim. And if you think Chris Rock made a shitty ass joke and was kind of a dick, that doesn't mean you have to think that Will Smith did the right thing. Like, these guys, if Chris Rock knew about the alopecia, that is a low blow.
Yeah.
That is shitty. You are a shitty comedian. That's not funny. If he didn't know and was just like, hey, Jada's bald, I'm going to say a joke, that really sucks. And I don't know what he knew. I can't say. I can say I probably think I have my opinions on it, but I don't really know either way. But yeah, I mean, I think that, like, the choice that Will Smith made is not a heat of the moment choice. Like, he made a choice and he knew what that meant. Like, he might have been blinded in the moment and passionate and whatever, but, like, he recognized it. And I do think that it sucks for everybody. It sucks for everybody that awards. But it sucks for Will Smith. I mean, I think that's the thing. And when we all get into these, like, battles on Twitter about was he in the right or was he in the wrong and what did he do, I think ultimately Shannon's right. Like, he his speech, even his speech that he gave, was less about King Richard, was less about this major milestone in his career, was less about this moment and the role that he played. His entire speech was an apology.
Yeah.
His entire speech was, let me talk about this thing that just happened a few minutes ago because holy shit, that went down. Like,
and let me explain it away. Yeah, yeah.
And let me try.
I think it was a justification more than an apology.
Yeah.
A justification. Fair.
And I mean, he did apologize to the Academy, but he tried to justify it before he got to the apology. So yeah.
I think that, you know, and again, I'm not in one of those, well, he should have handled it this way. He should have done this. Like, we all do shit that we shouldn't do. Like, I'm not going to go start telling everybody what they should have done. But had he not gone up on stage and smacked Chris Rock, and if in his speech when he won said Richard protected his family, and as I sit here tonight listening to what Chris Rock said about my wife, Chris Rock would have been the villain of the Oscars.
Yes, true.
Chris Rock would have been, everybody on Twitter would have been like, Chris Rock needs to apologize. Chris Rock should not be invited back. Chris Rock should not this. And Will Smith would be the hero of the hour.
Yeah. So and it's not like Chris Rock has a great record at the Oscars. So you're right, Mike. It would have been even more reason to not invite him back. Yeah.
So, like, yeah. And I do think that if a comedian says a shitty joke, which is going to happen forever, they should be called out on it. They probably shouldn't be beat up on stage. Yeah. Like, I think that's probably a line that we can draw.
Yeah.
Do I think that Will Smith should be kicked out of the Academy? No. Do I think that Will Smith should give back his Oscar? No. Do I think, you know, like, I think that we also have a tendency to just, like, everything that happens is like, well, now we need the punishments and the retributions. I'm like, look, Will Smith did a stupid thing to Chris Rock, who said a stupid thing, and it was all really, really stupid, and it overshadowed everything else at the Oscars, and it's all a shame, and I think everybody feels shitty about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's about as far. I think sometimes in life, there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, there's no hero, there's no villain, there's just a bunch of shitty stuff happen, and life is messy.
Yeah. But I mean, as I tweeted out, though, I do think it is teachable moments, and I think that for whatever side you're on, there are teachable moments here. And I think what you know, there was a number of articles that spoke about why, you know, about how Black women have been the subject of ridicule from their own community, from people outside the community. And I think there were some great things written about that. And just like the other side, I think there were some great things written about, hey, listen, this is the game and this is the part of the situation. You got to be able to handle it. We all got pressure. We all got stuff we're under. We all got frustrations in our lives. It does not mean that you go off half-cocked and slap someone. Mm-hmm. And there have been quite a few people, which really opened my eyes the last couple of days, seeing how many people legitimately were triggered, and how many people are kind of using this as a brand thing, legitimately triggered and like violently ill in reaction to, I mean, two of my friends from the Hollywood Critics Association, Scott Menzel and my father Ernesto, told me how they had trouble sleeping the night before. Like, I recorded things yesterday. They told me they had trouble sleeping. They had nightmares about it the night before. I know Monday, I felt weird all day Monday, like viscerally, you know, just everything felt weird. It was wonky. And maybe that's the ramification of like, wow, this is kind of maybe this is kind of due to witnessing that, really grasping the back and forth. And people were very like angry about it. You know, Mark Sloan and I went back and forth on Twitter, which was really, this is one of my best friends. And to see him react this way so angrily towards some of the things I was just shocked by it. But also when you take a step back the next day, you're like, okay, well, what was going on here? What's happening? Where do I have more understanding or more kind of opening the door or creating space to hear this other side and see that, you know? And even Amy Schumer today said she was triggered, or she's still recovering from being triggered, and the trauma. I can't even imagine what it was like to be there. And I do want to give a little bit of understanding. I mean, it's a shocking thing. So some people standing up and clapping. I see all these people go, see that? Fuck the Hollywood liberals. It's a weird thing. Like, you don't know how you're going to react in that moment. And yes, some of them standing up clapping. Cody Smith McPhee looked like he was a zombie. He was just like, you know, he was standing, but he looked like, oh, what the fuck is going on? So I think a number of people were traumatized by that. And you don't know how the trauma is going to manifest itself in the moment and then later on. And I think there needs to also be a season of understanding as much as Jada wants a season of healing of how people reacted to this in the moment, because you don't know how that's going to spark a reaction inside of you, or being in the auditorium, how you're going to react to something like that. So
yeah, I think you're 100% right. I mean, like, I don't know that I would have stood up, but I also think that, like, nobody, like, this is a 1 in a million thing that would happen.
Right.
The guy that is almost guaranteed to win Best Actor gets up before he wins Best Actor and smacks somebody on national television. Yeah. The chances of this happening are so infinitesimal. It's like nobody knew what the fuck to do. Like, do we not have him come on? Do we get him out? Like it is I think everybody was frozen. I do also want to bring up, I think I would be remiss as a queer person if I did not bring up the fact that I've been looking at Twitter and a good number of the people that are applauding Will Smith, saying he stood up for his woman, comedians can't say shit like that, he did the right thing, are the exact same people that tell queer and trans people that they can't take a joke when they get upset about Dave Chappelle. So I do think
that's a fair point. Yeah.
I do think that while I'm not saying that all queer and trans people should go up on stage and beat up Dave Chappelle, I am saying that perhaps this is a good learning moment, as John says, about if you were okay with what Will Smith did because you felt that he was right to defend Jada, then the next time you hear a marginalized group that's not you saying, I didn't appreciate when X person said X about this, think about that and think about your reaction.
Yeah, and something else, and I imagine if this were an issue that it would have been brought up already. But you know, these award shows, they go through rehearsals. They have writers. Yes. This is not, I mean, did Chris Rock write that joke?
No, it was ad-libbed.
Was it ad-libbed?
Yeah. The Occupy Democrats randomly, Twitter, the official Twitter for them, stated that the Academy said that this was not in the rehearsal. This was an off-the-cuff joke from Chris Rock, which makes sense because how would you know what Jada was going to wear or look that night? So it makes sense that it was an off-the-cuff remark.
Well, I mean, and then that just goes to prove that, like, Chris Rock, not so good off the cuff, because in terms of it just being a joke, it was not funny. Like, it just wasn't good. Like, even if that had been a choice, even if it was not a result of her condition, it's just not a good joke. I mean, it's something that I would expect more from an established comedian like Chris Rock. Yeah, man, it's gonna be really interesting next year.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
How does this affect the show going forward? One, I don't think they should have 3 hosts. I mean, personally, I am not an Amy Schumer fan, nor am I a Wanda Sykes fan. I like Regina Hall, but even Regina Hall, like her sketch, which okay, so you know what I'm gonna bring up right now.
I would like to bring this up. Just because you're a celebrity does not mean that you've signed some pact that your personal shit is now cannon fodder if you bring it up or you're brave enough to bring it up on a podcast. I think that's where I'm having some real issues. And Ricky Gervais can fuck all the way off with his bullshit. He is a millionaire. He is a condescending fuck to people below him. I've heard a lot of stories about how much of a dick he is to work with in real life. So for him to try to play the everyman as he jokes about other millionaires when he's a millionaire is really one of the most sanctimonious things in my fucking existence. And I get so sick of the fact that society has deemed that these people who've worked hard, struggled, taken the shit, and achieved their dreams now must be ridiculed by those who want to make them want to ridicule them or want to make them the butt of jokes for the common person. And I think that's unfair. And I think that shouldn't be what edgy comedy do you need to hear about someone's personal shit that's going to like change the world? You know, I just don't understand that. You can do better as a comedian. Jerry Seinfeld never does that shit. There are plenty of successful comedians who do not go into people's personal shit or famous people's personal shit on award shows and are great. And I just don't understand why we as a society go, hey, your success fucking goes with the territory. Fucking deal with it. Come on, you get mad at a drive-thru Get the fuck out of here. Like, to me, I just think it's a bit hypocritical that they should just all of a sudden develop this thick skin. They should be able to take it just because they've been successful at something they've worked really hard to be successful at. And, you know, I may be on an island on this one, on Hayward Island on this one, but I just get a little mad seeing that.
Well, you know, it gets it. I mean, we could argue for another hour
That's
about
you're
the
right.
nature
I'm
of
sorry,
comedy,
you're right.
but Jada and Will are in an open relationship.
Yes.
That's not a secret.
Sure, but is
like,
that something that you should be able to make fun of?
Yeah, but like, that's like saying, like, you can make fun of it. Yeah. You can't be derogatory about it. And I don't think that Regina Hall's joke said, this is why being in an open relationship is shitty. She said, no. Hey, you guys are good. I'll take Will. Like, that they are in an open relationship. There would be nothing wrong if they did. Like, I think that,
and they both laughed at that joke, to be fair.
Yeah. I think that the nature of people's reaction to that has a lot more to do, and I'm not saying you specifically,
I didn't have an issue
in
with
general.
that.
I think that people's reaction to that has more to do with their judgment on an open relationship than it does with the joke. Because if there's nothing wrong with an open relationship, and Will and Jada have an open relationship, and Regina Hall says, I'm gonna take all these hot men backstairs, and by the way, Will, I think Jada says it's good, you can come too. Where's the offense? Like, what did she say? Like, if she said, you guys are in an open relationship, and I think that's wrong because, well, then you're attacking someone's personal life.
Right.
But when you take something that is fact that we all know and say, hey, I would like to have sex with Will Smith, you know what? So would I. Like, yeah. Can I call Jada and ask?
I mean, Jada clapped like this for that joke, and Will was like, no, I'm not going up there. So they were playing along with that one. I hear you. I mean, it was more the alopecia thing. I think that's where I'm more at.
I think when you see, and I think particularly in Jada's response, because the Will part is a little bit a mystery of what happened in that 5 seconds that we didn't see. Yeah. But I think that's the point, is Regina Hall made a joke about Will and Jada that Will and Jada clearly were like, yeah, girl, like, that's funny. And the alopecia joke, you saw Jada's face and she was like, do we really have to do this right now?
I know. We've all seen that face on a woman's, like someone we care about in a moment. And you're just like, oh no, it's all going off. It's going to pop off here. Yeah, it's a good point. And maybe, and you know, you can't remove the factor of like the Chris Rock joke in 2016 at Jada's expense, you know, insulting her as a TV actress and, you know, the other stuff that it's gone on, and him having done a documentary about women's black hair. I mean, there's so much here. There's so much context in this, and who knows, you know, there's so much. But in the end, I think what you guys said initially is correct. It's just a mess, and it's a shame more than anything else, because it mars what could have been a really great night. Even I think it's still, even there would have been criticisms about the show.
Yeah,
but there would have been a lot of celebration of what happened, and unfortunately, just like we're doing here, unfortunately, people are talking about this rather than the other stuff more, and that's a shame. And we'll see. And you know, people are like, oh, I'll never look at Will Smith the same way. I don't know about all that. You know, people lose their heads, and I get it. You can feel however way you want to feel about Will. I just think that's a bit much, but you know, some people are really traumatized by assault, and I would never take that away from someone's feeling about it. You know, so sorry,
yeah.
Mike, what were you gonna say?
No, I was. I mean, I know we're running over. We got to wrap up, but I think that you know, I saw an article about that was covering, I think it was the Vanity Fair party.
Yes.
And they were talking about how at the party they were playing, getting jiggy with it, and Will was dancing. And I'm like, not like, I want to be really careful how I say this, but like, when we see something on television, and it is so outside of the norm, and it is so, holy shit, I can't believe that happened. And it is so triggering to so many people for so many reasons. And Chris Rock was clearly in the wrong for the joke he made. And Will Smith was clearly in the wrong for just walking up on stage and slapping somebody. And we all spend the next 72 hours talking about it. But Chris Rock didn't press charges.
Nope. He didn't.
And Will Smith won the Oscar, and he and Jada went on and they celebrated their night. And I feel like everyone who this happened to was like, well, that was a shitty thing.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And all the rest of us in the world are on Twitter screaming at each other about it. And it's like, there are so many things in this world that are so fucked up.
Right. Why
and
isn't
one person doing something stupid to another person who said something stupid is not in the top 10 of things that we need to be passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, a pile of Ukrainian bodies should be giving you nightmares, not this, in my opinion. But you know, you make a good point here, Michael. Yeah, there are those two, and so I think one of the former Academy spokesmen came out and said that's between the two men, and they handled it, and you know, it's over. And Diddy even said they handled it behind the scenes. Later on the next day to Vanity Fair, he said they handled it, they met, they handled it behind the scenes. It's done. Chris Rock hasn't said a word, which I think is kind of a smart move by him. Because his ticket sales for his comedy tour now have skyrocketed. Like he's selling out all over the place. So in a way, it kind of worked out for him. Because as Michael said, he could have been the villain. And in the end, now everyone's like, he took it like a champ. He's a hero for the comedy world. And all of that. You know, Bill Maher going crazy, of course, about it. But
yeah, we got to find out who's I was going to say, we got to find out who's hosting SNL this weekend.
And no one's going to start smacking comedians. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, hopefully, as Jada said, it's a season of healing. People can put down their swords for a little while and kind of detox and reconnect with the people they're battling with, because they're probably battling with friends and family about this stuff, and just kind of let it go and move on. Take the lesson and then move on. We shall see. All right. Well, there you go. That's our episode of the Geek Buddies. Thank you all so much for joining us or for listening to us. You know, we are in podcast form as well. We appreciate it madly that you let us be a part of your life every week here on the Geek Buddies. And don't forget, we've got a Moon Knight review coming up here in the next couple of days, a spoiler review for episode 1. And we will break it all down, and we might have a special guest. We shall see if we can lock that person down, have a special guest to join us for these reviews. We shall see. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies, on Instagram @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram @Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is @MKToon. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is @TheRochaSays.
Mikey?
Well, if you like what we are doing and you don't want to slap us yet, then we would like you to keep listening and watching, and here's what you can do. You can hit that like button below. You subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page over there. He has got a ton of amazing content. The man does more work than I know that there are hours in the day. I don't know how he is still alive. So check all of it out. Leave your comments below. I imagine we might have some heated comments about what you think about the slap. Keep it civil. Don't get in fights. Remember, there's more important things, but definitely let us know what you thought about everything below. If you're listening to us on Anchor or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere podcasts are available, go ahead and leave us some stars, leave us some comments. It helps us go up in the rankings. And as always, the greatest thing that you guys can do for us is to retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And once again, much love to Carbon Health, who powers and sponsors the Outlaw Nation and the Geek Buddies here. Again, they have 100+ locations in 14 states. Go and get checked out. Don't do that man thing of not going to see the doctor. Go see the doctor. Go get your butt checked out and every other part of your body checked out. They've got 100 locations in 14 states, 50 locations in California. They've done over 2 million COVID tests. They probably did even more since I started talking about this stuff here. If you're in California, consider scheduling an annual checkup and utilizing the primary care services, because primary care providers there, they listen, they follow up after appointments, and they bring compassion to their everyday work. And don't we want to make a connection with somebody when they have our health in their hands? We continue to partner with them because Carbon Health generally cares about positive communities like ours, like the Geek Buddies community, who engage with each other over the love of culture and expressions of life. You can even download the Carbon Health app and keep a doc in your pocket for immediate urgent care needs. All right, that's it. You all take care of yourselves. Be well. We love you madly, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode from the
Geek
Buddies.